Welcome to For the Record, a podcast from the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus, hosted by Senator Brian Pettyjohn, Chief of Staff Deanna Killen, and Communications Director Matt Revel. This is For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. We actually have a very special guest today. Some of you that, especially downstate, that listen to the radio, may have heard this person, but you might not have seen him before. This is Dan Gaffney.
Hi there. Here I am. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deanna.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
We're excited.
We wanted to have Dan on. Dan has been. How long have you been on the radio?
Oh, wow. 45 years, I think. 40. This is my 40th year in Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for 4 decades now. You've had your finger. I know. You've had your finger.
I know it doesn't look it. It's so young.
You don't look a day over 28. But you've had your finger on the pulse of what people are thinking, down in Sussex County and Kent County, and really a lot of times throughout the state. So,
right.
You have seen a lot of changes, in your career here in Delaware.
That sure is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we kind of want to talk to you about that today, about what you've seen, what you've gone through, how things have changed, and really what your callers are, what you're really hearing on a day-to-day basis, on your radio program.
All right.
So
where do we start with that?
I know I listen to you all the time. It literally helps me do my job. I'll listen to what the people in Delaware are saying when they're calling into your show. Matter of fact, I heard you today asking people, what do you want to hear about?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
yeah, remind me what we've been talking about is what I was kind of asking the listeners today. Can you remind me what we've been saying?
So what do you think, if you had to pick one thing, what do you think you get the most calls about when it comes to like politics and things that they would like to see us doing here in Dover?
Well, honestly, I think if I had to list the things that I've been hearing most over the last 4 years or so, 5 years, people seem to be hungry for representation that is louder when they are representing us. Yes. Even if you're in the minority or conservative and the Republicans are in a minority, please let everyone know that you disagree with the Democrats. Be louder about it. Be more forceful. We're frustrated, so we want you, our representatives, to be frustrated too for us.
Right.
Understood.
Sort of is what I hear. There's a lot of people are asking the Republicans specifically to be more forceful.
Yeah, and I've talked to constituents that kind of say the same thing. And one of the first things I do is say, "Have you ever watched what we're doing on the floor?" And they're like, "Well, no, we can do that." And you can stream online, the debates that we have, see, myself and Senator Hocker and, Senator Richardson, Senator Wilson, Senator Lawson, Senator Buxton, all of us, go through and debate some of these bills and challenge the other side on what they think is the truth and bring the facts to the table, and see how we do that. And we've really sharpened that edge over the last few years in terms of being extremely well prepared for debate, getting notes, having notes ready there on the floor so that we can counter a lot of what the other side is saying. And sometimes we'll be able to peel off a vote or two. Sometimes we've even been able to have them withdraw a bill and discuss it a little bit further, off the floor. So,
right.
Yeah. It's people want to hear stuff and we're doing it. And if you want to hear really what we're doing, tune in to the debate on.
Well, don't take it personally, Brian.
I don't. No,
it's an awful big defense you're giving.
Hey, and I encourage people to do it.
That's most people don't take time to watch legislation in action. For one reason or the other, we have to go pay the bills, right? So outside of that, let us know these things. Here's what we said. Here's why they're so wrong. Just be more vocal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's you, but that's what I'm hearing.
I've heard it too. I've heard it on your show. I've also seen it on social media. And that is one of the reasons why we started this podcast. We started this podcast as a way to get our message out, and that was a result of hearing the public outcry. But you're right. There's clearly a disconnect where they aren't feeling like we're being forceful enough. So we are working on that. And
at least just getting that message out. You know, and a lot of it is messaging, 100%. Yeah.
So I'm hearing that. I'm also hearing issues with growth.
Yes.
And as it relates to the state, DelDOT has not kept up with the growth. I think people expect roads to be built prior to the developments being built,
right.
you know?
Right.
And I know DelDOT would say, hey, we're funding this and we're doing XYZ projects, but I think the general public doesn't see that happening fast enough.
Yeah.
I keep hearing people say, we're 10 years behind with our roads.
And I would probably agree with them. You know, we are 10 years behind. You know, I go through, and part of my district is over on the east side, where there's a lot of that growth that's occurring.
Right.
And, you know, I regularly call up my my friends on county council and say, guys, we need a little bit of breathing room so that the state can catch up on some of these roads. And it is a challenge. As somebody that's, you know, pretty much spent almost his entire life in Sussex County, you know, I hate to see, you know, these fields get changed into developments, or these, you know, these woods that we have, these forests that get, you know, cut down to, you know, have the latest, you know, 55 plus community that's out there. Yeah.
And another issue that I was asked to bring up, and it is a good one, and it does get a fair amount of discussion, is the when the state government General Assembly overrides a local decision.
Yeah.
Do you hear about that?
Oh, yeah.
For example, the wind turbine decision, the substation zoning issue.
Yeah.
Having Sussex County overruled.
Right.
Yes. And we are equally as frustrated with that. And it was disappointing that there were Sussex County legislators that supported that legislation to do that. You know, we voted no.
Yeah. And look, even some Kent County, I mean, you know, you've got a really strong local government here in Delaware. You know, your towns, your counties, you know, they do a lot. And the state has taken a lot of the authority and on the zoning piece and given it to the counties. And I've said this since I was on town council in Georgetown. You don't want a bureaucrat here in Dover or in Wilmington deciding what gets built next to your house.
Yeah, and I had a certain mayor of a certain town.
We can name names on here.
Well, tell me that it's dangerous.
It is.
He sees it as a very dangerous precedent.
It is.
What he's noticing, the state overriding local control. So I'm sure he's having his own issues.
Yeah.
You know,
and not only the substation, but there was a bill out there, and it never went anywhere, but to require towns to allow accessory dwelling units, that ADU bill.
Yes.
You know, and I could just see, you know, some of our historic towns in Delaware, like, you know, Old Newcastle or Lewis, you know, being the town councils being forced to allow, you know, these ADUs to be built, you know, on the same property as a 200-year-old house.
But let's get right to it. These are Democrats in this building who are overriding the decision of the local elected folks.
Exactly.
Is this it?
Yes,
If we were to be honest, the Democrats are thinking they know more than the local folks that the citizens have elected.
Yes, and that is the attitude. That's the prevailing attitude that we see here in Dover all the time, is we know better than you. Sussex County being a red county, you know, the blue counties are going to help straighten you out, so to speak. That's the overall attitude that we see in this building.
Yeah. And it's bothersome. I mean, I came from the local government side. Representative Short was a mayor over in Seaford.
Yes.
And I don't know of any other, well, I think Darius
Shoup
was mayor. Wasn't Darius Brown on Wilmington City Council? But I can't
say for sure.
There's very few of us in this building that are, you know, sitting in the representative seats and the Senate seats that have actually been involved in the local government and had to have those really tough decisions that we made.
But Democrats, you ought to just think, look, Sussex County had representatives for a reason. The people who live here in Sussex County voted for those representatives to make the decisions.
Right.
You don't need to be overriding that.
Yes.
Come on already.
Yeah.
We completely agree.
Is the power sit with the people, or does it sit with you, Wilmington lawmaker who's trying to override what's happening in Sussex County? The answer is it sits with the people. Don't let the people voice be silenced by your actions.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. No, that's good.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Is that right?
That is right. That's 100% right.
Yeah, let's have more of that.
Yeah.
So I hear that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it is frustrating for us in our
is.
caucus, and for people that think like us, that local control, these local decisions need to be made by our county and our town boards, commissions, county council, town councils, and this is kind of that Campbell's nose under the tent, where they've overridden Sussex County once on this issue. What's the next issue going to be? And what's the issue
Could be
after
anything.
that?
Yes.
Could be anything. Who knows?
Well, and they tried to override Sussex County on where the placement of certain marijuana shops could go as well.
Yeah. Yep. And they did
Right.
that, and the governor vetoed that.
Yes, and the Senate overrode the veto,
And it's
the
sitting
House-
over in the House.
It's sitting in
Yeah.
the House, so I don't know if there's votes to do that. But yeah, and that was an attack on the floor from the bill sponsor. He was constantly calling out Sussex County
Yep.
and how they intentionally did this so that no shops, almost no shops could be placed in the county. Well, that's their decision.
Yeah, and it's the town's decisions too, because the towns aren't governed by that bill. So you have individual towns that have said, yes, we'll allow it, and you had other towns that says, no, we don't want it either.
Right.
So again, these are local decisions.
Right.
Yeah, that should not be made in this building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've solved that problem.
Yes. And I think one thing too that I just wanted to say, because I listen to your show every day, I hear people call in, and I do think that there is a disconnect or a lack of understanding of how this building operates as far as the majority and the minority. And one example that comes to mind, we're having a major energy crisis here in Delaware. I'm sure you hear that. Senator Richardson and Representative Holoski, they had conversations about wanting to study nuclear energy. So we worked together. We put together a resolution that established a nuclear feasibility energy task force. We had the hardest time getting that bill passed. It was brought to the floor once, really no votes. We had to pull it. Senator Richardson put it up under suspension of rules. We ended up getting it through. Anyway, it took a lot of work to get it through. But what happens is once it all pans out and it's ready to move forward, Senator Richardson and Representative Holoski, they don't get to chair that. They can sit on it, but it automatically is handed over to the Democrats to lead it. So even if Republicans have a vision for something, that vision can never be played out because the Democrats are automatically given control of the task force to lead the way. So now you have two representatives, or a representative and a senator, who I can't really tell if they support nuclear or not.
Right.
And in my opinion, the task force is moving at snail's pace, which is just like everything in state government.
Right, that's interesting. So the people who had the passion for it or the constituent connection to bring it up are removed really from controlling the process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so I get it.
Right.
And the majority runs it. Now, it's interesting with this nuclear feasibility task force. The governor supports nuclear energy here in Delaware. And that kind of shows another dynamic that's happening here in Legislative Hall, where there's a rift between the Democratic General Assembly and the Democratic governor here in Delaware right now.
I've noticed.
Yes.
It's interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that have played out here lately, really starting on the day he was inaugurated, when he removed the previous governor, Governor Hull Long, the appointments to the port board. And then there was a big battle over that, which actually ended up having to be decided by an advisory opinion of the Supreme Court.
Could you explain maybe in a sentence or two, what is the core rift? What's the origin of the rift between the governor and his fellow Democrats in this building? What is the underlying
I think
issue?
I know some of it.
Go ahead.
I think some of it has to do with unions. I think that's some of it. I think that a lot of the Democrats in the building, a lot of the legislation that's pushed here in Legislative Hall, it's all union, to support unions. I don't necessarily know that the governor is 100% behind that. And I know that there has been a little bit of back and forth and headbutting when it comes to that.
Okay.
That's some of it. And then, of course, I think the majority of people in this building supported Bethany. Those are the
So
two.
it's a personal thing there.
I think some of it's personal.
personality, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some of it could be, and then there could be other things maybe I'm not aware of. I don't think they loved him probably as county executive. I mean, look at what the county is dealing with right now. If put it this way, if it's any indication of what happened in the city of Wilmington and everything that's going on there in Newcastle County, what's the budget deficit right now that Marcus is trying to figure out?
It's huge.
It's a huge budget deficit.
Yeah.
I just hope that the state isn't run the same way that the county was run, because if so, we're going to be in pretty big trouble.
And I think part of it too is you now have a governor that's in charge of an executive branch of government, of one of the three co-equal branches of government that still tries to exercise the same power when he was county executive, which had a whole lot more power over county government, relative to the county council in Newcastle County, wanting to make decisions without bringing the other side, here, which is the General Assembly, the 62 members of the General Assembly, in on some of those decisions. So there's a learning curve that has to happen. It's happened before. This isn't the first time, but it seems that the rift that's there was more distinct than it was, let's say, when Governor Markell came into this building.
Right.
And I think a positive, if I was going to say something positive about Governor Meyer, is that he's not really a yes man, in my opinion. I do feel like Carney was more of a yes man with the Democrat Party here in the building,
right,
and kind of went along to get along whatever they wanted, whereas Meyer's not like that.
Well, I guess I could say that as well as an observer, right? The small positive is there's a slight bit of checks and balances there.
Yeah, right.
When they're disagreeing, there's a little bit of checks and balances, but that's only through luck.
Yeah.
What we really need is one of these houses, your house or the Senate or the governor, to be Republican. Yes. And then we'd all be better off to have this checks and balances.
The real checks and balances. And we had that in Delaware for years. 2008 is when the House flipped from Republican to Democrat.
Right.
Usually it was the Senate that was Democrat, but it was a different kind of Democrat then too.
Yeah.
You had people like Senator Adams and Senator Bunting and Senator Venables.
All has changed.
And that those more conservative Democrats have been squeezed out of this building, not just the Senate chamber, but of this building, as the more progressives have taken over that party.
All right, what else do you want to know?
Yeah, I have a question, just as mine, because this is one of the issues that I care deeply about. But I just kind of wonder, from your perspective, how much do you think Delaware cares about it? And it's the whole issue of erasing women from our language in general. Hearing terms like birthing person. We just had a bill come around for co-sponsorship 2 weeks ago, which is the same, Sussex County legislator, and she wants to have parking places for pregnant people.
Ridiculous.
And, yeah, for me as a woman, I find this infuriating, and I just wonder: is this something that people care about, or do people don't? Or
it is something they care about. I can find very, very few people that want to use this sort of nonsense language, that nonsensical birthing person.
Right.
Even if I put on a dress, I'm not going to birth a person.
Right.
Right.
To be honest with you,
Yes.
so it's just silly.
Right.
And it is a slap toward women.
100%.
And I don't know anyone really in real life that would support that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't not just have conservatives that listen to your program and call in. You've got some liberals and some progressives that'll call in on occasion as well.
Certainly.
I mean, have you heard any defense of this thing from
no defense whatsoever?
Okay.
No defense whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just people that they think they have to do this to check off some progressive, I don't know,
a box.
checklist, box that they have to follow. But people on the street don't want to see that birthing person. They don't want to see men in a women's bathroom or competing in girls' sports. I bet, they say it's an 80-20. I bet it's a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
90-10, if that much. It might be 95-5 issue.
Right.
So many people are over this whole thing. It's just silly.
And it's good to hear that, because I think working up here in Dover sometimes it can be very just discouraging, because it is in this building here. It is very popular, or seems to be anyway. I mean, they'll stand up and introduce a resolution, and that's what they will say. I mean, we have sections of code that are literally about pregnancy and maternity, and there is the word mother and woman are not in it at all. They are being removed and replaced. And as a woman, that infuriates me, and I don't understand. I don't feel like there's a movement to do this to men, so I just don't understand.
Well, when you get right down to it, I kind of think the men, the patriarchy is in charge of these liberal females who are doing this, or they wouldn't. Why are women erasing women?
Right. Exactly. I mean,
if they're not being influenced by the males.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, to me, it's like they're looking up to men as if this is the specimen, the ultimate specimen of what you need to be, so it makes you equal. No, that's not it at all. That, to me, is the message it sends. I feel like it's a completely backward message, and it makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And if you disagree with this, Brian, what's your address? What's your mailing address?
411 Legislative Avenue, Dover. No, but it's, and I've, look, I grew up in Georgetown, and there are some progressive folks in Georgetown that I know, that I'm friends with, and I ask them about it too. They can't figure it out. They're like, Brian, I just, why are so many in our party dying on this hill right now to push this type of thing? They don't get it. So I don't know where it's coming from, because I don't think it's coming from, really the Democrats that have been here for a long time. I think it's some of the folks that are moving here that have these ideas that they brought from other places, and they're just trying to push it on everybody else. I don't know. I can't find the source of it.
I wish they would speak up more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah. Maybe the people need to speak. I was bringing the fact that legislators aren't speaking up loud enough, but maybe the people need to speak up more on issues like that. I agree.
Right, because
I agree. Don't be afraid, folks.
Yeah, exactly, and that is it. People are afraid. And speaking of being afraid, another issue that I think that a lot of people don't realize that we deal with here working in the minority party is anytime that there is a bill that comes before us, like HB 350, I'll give that for an example. That's the one that established the Diamond State Board,
the Hospital Review Board.
Right, the Hospital Review Board. We fought so hard to try to stop that bill. And we had advocacy groups coming in, Delaware Healthcare Association, everyone coming in asking us to work and fight for them. And we did. We fought hard. But then whenever the bills come up before the General Assembly or committee, a lot of these people who are asking us to fight end up going neutral on the bill. And this happens all the time. So these agencies and advocacy groups want us to stop legislation, but they're too afraid to come out and openly say, we oppose that. So we're just going to go neutral.
Well, they get what they asked. They get what they asked for then.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my philosophy is people right now, apparently they're not feeling the pain enough because they're still voting the same way. And to me, people are going to have to feel it in a way that affects them to where they're going to vote differently, because right now that's not happening.
Yeah, and when we had the committee hearings on HB 350, the building was full of doctors and nurse practitioners and nurses. There were white coats everywhere. Lab coats everywhere in this building. But when it came time to ask them to actually step up and help us, help back us up when we voted against it, they were silent. And we put our necks out on this.
Do you know why?
Fear, and that's what they've said. Well, we might need to work with the Democrats moving forward on another bill, so we're just going to sit this one out. Well, or we've agreed to do that. I know, and it's so.
You can disagree, and not be disagreeable. Right. What's wrong with just saying I believe differently? Please don't do it. It's not a good idea. Maybe in the future we'll agree on something, but right now this is not a good idea. Come on, people.
That's the dangers of a one-party state, in my opinion. And you said you're talking about checks and balances. We don't really have a lot of that.
That's a good point.
And look, there's times that people disagree with with some of our bills.
To me, I guess I'm trying to understand the fear thing again.
Okay.
I guess they think if I go against them, I could really get jammed up.
Yes.
I need the state for licensing. I need the state for this. I need the permits for this. Maybe they think retaliation is possible.
Or they think it could be a whole lot worse.
Yes, exactly.
So let's kind of settle for not as bad instead of it being a whole lot worse.
That's been said. Yeah. Well, they're saying that if we don't do this, they're going to do this, and that's even worse. So we need to compromise and at least land here, because they know that they have the power to pass whatever they want.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing I find interesting, and I want to say all this because these are things that I want to say to all your callers when they call in, to kind of let them know how it works here. What I find very interesting is even in committee meetings, any bills that come forward from our side, from their side, if it's dealing with education and transportation, one of the first things that the Democrat committee chair will say, does the Department of Education support the bill? And that's always the determining factor. And it's like, why do you care? We're here literally to make sure that these executive branch agencies are operating appropriately. They should never support everything we're doing 100%, because if they do, then that means there's no checks and balances in place. But that's always a determining factor of whether a bill can get out of committee, is if the agency supports it or not.
And they frame it differently. They say, well, what about the stakeholders? And by stakeholders, they mean, what's the administration think? You know, what does Department of Education?
But the real stakeholders are the people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're supposedly in this building. Not me. Like I'm not a representative, but that's why this building exists.
Yes.
It doesn't exist to make the Department of Education happy. It exists to make the people happy, right? Or not happppy, but represent them.
Right. And sometimes what's in the best interest of the people is not necessarily what's in the best interest of some of those departments. And we need to drive that point home a whole lot more. And, you know, like you said, that's one of the first questions, except when it's one of their bills. Now, if they have a bill that's going against the administration or telling DHSS or DOE or one of them what to do, that's not discussed.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first year I'm seeing that. And I think it's because Meyer is the one who appointed the heads of these agencies, because with Carney, they always agreed 100%. So I think any pushback you're seeing now isn't a result of wanting actual balance. It's a result of, well, Meyer appointed the head person, so I need to be skeptical. That's my take on that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you think the governor gets a lot of his ideas from the fact that he was a county administrator? Does that play into some of his decisions? Like he's empathetic toward at least some. Maybe that's why he's not full-throated for unions, or you know, because he sees
I'm not sure
the costs involved or something. I don't know.
You know, I think that's part of it. You look at what he's trying to do with some of the homeless here in Delaware, and what he did in Newcastle County with the Hope Center, that old hotel there on 95. You know, he wants to replicate that same thing in Kent and Sussex County. You know, he had a big rift with the FOP, the Newcastle County Police Department up there, with their union. So I think you're seeing some of that bleed over into the other unions that are here in Delaware. So of course, I think he's bringing some of that, you know, from his previous experience in Newcastle County to here to Dover and into the governor's mansion. I don't think it's his complete train of thought that's coming from there, but you know, a lot of it comes from his closest advisors that he has around him as well.
Interesting.
He appears to be more business friendly than I find in the average Democrat in the building here. His administration right now is working really hard on making permit times a lot quicker. He's working with Senator Hocker on creating a DelDOT appeals board, where if someone gets denied something with DelDOT, they can go before DelDOT and appeal that, which they don't have right now. So he does appear to be more business friendly, I think, because right now, from what I've seen, especially the last 5 years, this legislature is not business friendly at all. We are doing everything we can to drive businesses out of Delaware.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, I've got lots, but
yeah, I'm ready.
Every time I hear your callers call in, I'm always like talking to them through the phone. But one thing I hear a lot is, you know, when it comes to people getting out and actually working, like I hear a lot of people call in all the time, you know, running Republicans down. But but when it comes time for elections or anything else, I don't see anybody. We don't have anybody going out and door knocking. We don't have anybody doing any of this stuff. The Democrats, they are well funded. They have so many volunteers and so many people working for them. They are a well-oiled machine. And Republicans, we just don't have the volunteers. So thinking,
I think part of that too is we're working.
Yeah, well,
you know, we've got families that we've got to go, you know, take them to soccer practice, you know, during the spring. You know, we've actually we're doing stuff to, you know, our priorities are different. You know, faith, family.
Yeah, but you know what? If you don't reposition those priorities, you're going to lose all of that.
I agree.
And I do think slowly that we are losing that. I think for me, I've always had a different perspective being a parent, but now that I'm a grandparent, I don't know, my perspective has changed even more because I care about the state that I'm leaving, you know, that I'm leaving to my grandkids, and I fear what I'm seeing now in Dover. I mean, we're seeing, you know, committee meetings talking about shoplifting. And advocacy groups coming on saying, people only shoplift what they need. You know, like, get over it. If you as a multi-million-dollar, you know, small grocery store owner, which is what they think every business owner in Delaware is a multi-millionaire trying to take from the little man. That's the mentality here. And it's just, I fear for what's going to happen to this state if we continue down the path that we're on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your issue is you want people who seem outspoken to actually get involved.
Get involved, yeah. Mm-hmm. Get involved, because we can't do it all. We can only do so much, and we're even limited to a degree because even for myself working in this building, there's only so much that I can do. Senator Richardson had the bill, back to the whole topic of biological boys and girls sports.
Right.
He had that bill before the General Assembly. I put something out on social media trying to encourage people. It got very little attention and traction. And there were way more. The advocacy groups coming out in support of biological boys playing in girls sports, like, they're out there and they're active. And I get it. A lot of them are paid. They have a full-time paid staff that can do this. But, I just want people to step up more, get involved. You don't have to come up here to Dover to participate in a committee meeting. You can literally call in virtually. You can send an email voicing your support or opposition.
Got it.
Not that matters,
right.
but
well,
But silence is consent.
Exactly.
And we've got too many people that will come up and complain to me. And I said, yeah, I completely agree with you. Have you sent something to the committee? It's a committee that there's a bill that I'm not on, and I'm not on that committee. Did you send something to the committee? Did you contact the senators that sponsored it? Well, no, I didn't. Well, it's politics is not a spectator sport.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On this issue that you brought up. Is there a disconnect between our great elected Republican lawmakers and the people that call themselves the party? In other words, there are like Republican clubs and Republican meetings, and it seems almost like a different group sometimes than people like you, Brian, or Jesse Vanderwyn, or Brian Shoup, or Dave Wilson, or any of our other great, Gerald Hawker, any of our other great lawmakers. Seem like a different mindset or a different group. What's going on there?
Well, we attend a lot of their meetings. We go to as many as we can. Some of them are held while we're up here in Dover, so of course we can't attend those. But we go to as many of them as we can, and we know a lot of people that are in there and talk to them very regularly. We're very supportive of what they're trying to do and their grassroots outreach that they try for.
Well, I'll speak from my perspective.
Okay.
My husband just recently stepped up to be RD chair of one of the RDs here in Sussex County. He did that as a favor to me because it desperately needed it. I've never really been a part of that side of politics before. I've just been involved here. And what we are seeing is kind of is very disappointing and discouraging, because I feel like up here in Dover, we are all working together very, very well. We have each other's backs. We support each other. We have a goal. We don't want to be in the minority. I feel like what I'm seeing at the RD level is a lot of infighting about stuff that just doesn't matter. And I'm just thinking, if the same amount of energy was put into working together and not caring who gets credit, we would be so much more successful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a visual. I know it's an audio and a visual, but she's on the nose. I think you're right. I think you're right.
And I wish there was more passion for that. And again, don't care about who gets credit. I did something. I don't want to get too much into party stuff, but I got involved at the party level a little bit this year. And I remember the first email I sent out, someone accidentally responded back to me as chairman. And there was this whole email chain about someone calling me chairman, as opposed to chair or chairwoman or chairperson. And I literally responded, really? Democrats almost have a supermajority, and this is what we're talking about? Let's get past this. Let's move forward. Let's work together.
Right.
Because I'm not happy being in the minority, and I know you're not either. When I started here, the Senate was 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Like, the Senate had power to actually make things happen. People came to us and worked with us, and we were able to stop a lot of bad bills. But now that it's now 6 and whatever, it's like, it's a lot harder now to do that, unless we do the nuclear option and try to stop bond bill. Yeah. And that's really the only option in the Senate that we have.
One of the things that I've seen from the other side is that once the decision is made over there, everybody falls in line.
Yes.
One of our strengths, and I think it's also a weakness sometimes, is that we have our own opinion.
Yes.
Republicans, Republican A, Republican B, Republican C might have differing opinions. And once a decision is made, by Republican A and Republican B. Well, if Republican C doesn't like it, well, they still go off on their own way. They don't fall in line, and it causes that fracture. I mean, one of our strengths is that we can think on our own, and we're not.
And we welcome that.
We do.
Yeah.
We encourage that. Sometimes you need to look at the greater good of our party and say, look, we've got to fall in line. We've got to gel together and speak as one party. Speak together. And not have these factions coming out and say, well, I don't think that's right, and I'm going to fight this and divert us from really what the goal is, and that is to have more members here and to get a majority somewhere, to either in the Senate or in the House or elect a Republican governor. We need to do that, and the only way to do that is for us to come together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
True. And I do say that, like, to his point, we don't vote together consistently. And I would say if I had to put a percentage on it, and I'm talking the Senate, because the House, I might be a little different, but in the Senate, 99.9% of the time they vote together. It is very odd that someone will vote differently. And right.
I've noticed that too. And if they do, they have a good reason, I think.
Yeah.
But
yep.
What else would you like to know? Anything else?
Well, let me see.
About the radio show?
Yeah. Well,
or anything?
You got a radio show. You also do something else on the side,
Yeah,
too.
I actually want to know a little bit about that.
Oh. Well, I'm a performer.
Yeah.
So I perform.
So how did you get into that?
Well, I did this when I was a kid. I was actually, that was a high school job of mine. I was a kid magician. So I did magic shows. And stopped doing it in my early 20s and started a career in radio and just kind of put it aside. But I don't know, 5 years ago or so, I decided I wanted to keep doing it, do it again. And so I started performing.
Yeah.
And it's going very well. I mean,
really busy all over.
How many shows do you do a week?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes 2 or 3. 4 or 5 a month, something like that. Just enough to keep busy.
Right.
Throughout the Mid-Atlantic, traveling around, doing it for companies and parties and events.
Okay, that's good to know. We'll have to remember that for our next Christmas party or event we have.
I was at a trade association dinner a couple months ago. And they were, I was at the table with the executive director and some of the leadership, and they're like, "Yeah, we got to figure out somebody for next year." I was like, "I got somebody."
Oh, cool.
So yeah, you're going to be getting a call.
I'll be looking for that call.
Yeah, you will be. Yeah. But
no, but it's really fun. I find it rewarding. It's kind of an art form or just a different outlet for me. So I enjoy it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's nice.
That's good. So I mean. From what you're seeing, kind of on the outside, but really tuned into what we're doing, where do you see the state heading in 5 years?
Well, it's scary.
Yeah.
I don't see positives with one-party rule and super majorities. And I probably would say the same thing if it was a Republican supermajority too, quite honestly. I just don't like it. It's lopsided.
Yeah.
I don't like our spending. I just think that we've moved all these people here under the guise of low taxes, and they're going to be captive retirees. And the next thing you know, their taxes are going to start going up. And now that we've got them, they're going to start going up out of necessity because we can't stop spending. And our corporations are ticked off at Chancery Court, and they're going to keep leaving unless we fix that. So I just, it's just a kind of a scary proposition.
Yeah, we've talked to some folks about one of the things we're seeing in Delaware is the workforce participation for labor here, and we're starting to see that go down. Our unemployment is ticking up, and our workforce participation is going down, and a lot of that is the retirees that are moving in here, because they've got pensions. They don't work, they're enjoying their retirement, but they're still demanding services from the state. So they're not out there, working and contributing more toward the economy, toward the tax base. We've got a good pension exclusion here in Delaware, which is why a lot of people move to Delaware because of that.
Yeah, I just don't like the reassessment every 5 years.
Yeah.
And schools being able to tack on money on top of that.
That's a problem.
It's just going to get.
Right, you're not going to see another referendum pass in Delaware with it, like, as long as they can do that. Like Laurel did the referendum, but they took the full 10%. And Laurel, we heard from a lot of those constituents because Senator Richardson is one of our senators. They were so irate at how high their bills were. A lot of them were doubled or tripled, and then they tried to do a reassessment on top of that.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, you're not going to get that passed. And we've had Republican legislators, Mike Smith, who has tried to put forth a bill saying that no, you cannot do this every time. You cannot increase 10% every time there's a reassessment. You have to prove that there's a need for that. And of course, it was stuck in committee. They won't let it out. So I think that you're looking at that's going to be the new way to fund schools. And if that's not sufficient, then I'm not really sure what we're going to do. But I think the days of low taxes and living expenses in Delaware, I think they're coming to an end.
Right.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it's really going to affect the generation that is coming out of high school and starting their jobs now. They can't afford to live here, or they can't afford to buy property and build a house to live here.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's a big problem. I feel bad for my daughter. She'll be, and Blake, Molly's going to be 22. I would love for her to be able to buy a house.
Right.
But I just, unless something happens right now, it's going to be unaffordable, and she's going to be stuck in that whole rental, cycle, unless she decides to move away.
Yeah, you might be visiting her in Alabama.
Right.
Yeah. I know.
Or Missouri or something.
Yeah,
Right.
Tennessee.
And that's
one of
the
those,
scary thing. 'Cause my daughter's talking about that. She's like, Mom, I could move to another state right now and get a house. I don't want my grandkids moving, but at the same time,
Right. My kids do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself retiring in Delaware and staying here?
Yeah, I think I'm stuck. I'm like a lot of those people that are stuck here now that I'm here. No, I still like it here.
Yeah.
I don't want to really leave. I don't have any plans on leaving. My youngest is 10.
Wow. And how old's your oldest?
Oh, 30 something,
Oh, wow.
whatever. But yeah, my youngest is 10, so I got a ways to go.
Yeah.
And I also enjoy what I'm doing, and I feel like it's new all the time, emerging technologies, new competition, new ways
like
of
your
doing
AI songs that you do.
Yeah, whatever, all that stuff. Who knows where we're going, but it's like every week it's a new kind of job with changing technology and attitudes toward technology. So it's constantly challenging, and I'm not ready to end doing that, so I'm enjoying it.
Good.
That's good to know. And that's me too. Like I do. I mean, as much as I hate the politics of Delaware, I love Delaware. My whole family's here. We have businesses here. My brother is a pastor of a church here. I don't want to move to, I want to try to make things better for Delaware. And it's just really hard. Another thing that I heard someone send into your show when you asked things to bring up was the Project Labor Agreement bill that is out right now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. That bill was signed out of committee, even though we had an enormous amount of opposition show up. And it wasn't just, I think what stuck out to me is the amount of minority-owned businesses that came out and spoke against the bill.
That are non-union.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But want to have a chance
Exactly.
at working in different projects, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things, so my email's getting blown up right now with support of the PLA bill. What's
Support?
fun? Support.
Okay.
Now, there's key. Some of the things that's protect Delaware jobs, Delawarean jobs. But I look at who's sending it. I'm getting emails from New Jersey and Pennsylvania, from out of state people that are coming into Delaware and working.
And are going to be able to take our jobs from local Delawareans.
You go to some of these big public works projects, these schools, especially upstate, you'll find very few Delaware tags there. A lot of them are out-of-state people that are working in Delaware. So, the support for this, and of course it's from the unions, and I think there's a really good place for unions in our workforce. But when you're talking about making sure that Delawareans have jobs, let's make sure that those jobs are going to Delawareans and not to, the pockets of folks that are out of state. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that only makes sense. Why would you not be for that?
Exactly.
I know. I mean, it's public money. It's Delaware taxpayer money. It needs to go to Delawareans and having them build these buildings and paving these roads and doing these big construction projects.
Here we go again, Brian.
Yeah.
Democrats, come on. You're supposed to represent the people of Delaware.
Yeah.
Not the union boss out of Philly.
Yeah, I remember when I first started here, I worked.
Come on already. Come on, it's so simple. What's wrong with you people?
Well, I can kind of give you a little bit of idea why. When I first worked at my first polling place when I was years ago when I first started here. I remember I was fairly new to politics at the time, and there were these people standing around, and they come up to us, talk. They say, "How much are you getting paid to be here?" I'm like, "I'm not getting paid to be here. I'm volunteering." "Oh, I'm getting $300, and they've got a bunch of food down the road there." I said, "Well, who are you with?" And they started naming the unions, and they literally had a thing of T-shirts around their arm, or they were just changing out T-shirts for different Democrat candidates for the day and going from polling place to polling place. So another thing, that it's hard as Republicans because we're up against that. We're up against the ACLU, the DSEA, all of these groups that are literally out working full time to push an agenda. And
the Sierra Club.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on the Sierra Club. Yeah. I mean, pushing our energy policy with energy experts who I can't find what makes them experts. And it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. But again,
they're an expert because they read Al Gore's book.
Yeah.
But that's
you say that in jest, but
it's true.
I think it's true.
I thought I was being truth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But just for for your folks that
sounds
are
like a
watching,
joke.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because it's true.
It
for
is.
your folks that are listening to it, but that's what we're up against in this building. That's what we're up against. We have bills that are good bills that you have. Again, these energy experts that are railing against our bills professionally, they're not in the energy sector, but they are paid or lead volunteers or something for these groups that are opposing the bills.
They have so much power and influence over our policy. I don't understand.
No,
I don't.
Because it's allowed by the other side.
Yeah.
And that they bring people in that serve as echo chambers for them, and they make them experts because they're saying exactly what they want them to say, not necessarily what's true, but what they want them to say. So they're brought up as the experts.
Yeah. All right, this is a learning discussion for our audience.
Would you ever run for public office?
No.
Come on, Dan.
Why not? No, what we're saying isn't appealing to you?
Yeah, well, it's appealing. I mean, it's important.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it. I give you guys all the credit in the world. I give everybody who's run for office all the credit in the world. Very difficult.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Very difficult, hard, people sniping at you constantly, guys on the radio mouthing off at you.
I know.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's true, and it's frustrating for me too when I listen sometimes because I know how much hard work that they're doing, and I know what they're up against every day, and I don't think the average person sees that. I almost feel like there needs to be like some type of outlet for people or someone telling people or kind of giving them an inside look of exactly what goes on in this building so people know, because a lot of people used to be vote for the person, don't vote for the party. I think that's out the window anymore.
It's gone.
It's gone because
too tribal.
100% too tribal. I mean, I can honestly say I do not agree with a lot of stuff Donald Trump does, a lot of stuff. And I think that if you can't say that, there's a problem. You should be able to call out your party if they're doing something wrong.
Right.
And if you can't, then you're not thinking for yourself.
Yeah. No. And again, that's really how we should be. You should be able to have your own opinion and not worry about, your business being affected by you having your own personal opinion, you being canceled somewhere because you have an opinion that is shaped by your own life. And my life has not been your life, has not been your life.
Right.
And we're all different because of that. But it just seems that if you want to have your own opinion about something, then they want to cast you away. Yeah. And it's unfortunate now. It's unfortunate, but sorry to hear that you're not going to run for public office, Dan.
Yeah,
I mean, I think you would be great. I remember the first time that you interviewed me.
Yes.
And it was when I was running for town council in Georgetown.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were asking me about what's funny about an issue that we're seeing now that is a lot of discussion about immigration.
Oh, okay.
You asked me, so what do you think about, the immigrant population in Georgetown, and what are you going to do about it? And my answer was, that's a federal issue.
Right.
My answer still is, even now, though I know more about it, we're talking 14 years later, it's a federal issue. And if the people in D.C. would actually come together, they could fix the problem. You've got people that have come here the right way, that have applied for citizenship. They are over a decade in trying to get their citizenship, tens of thousands of dollars, and they're still on a waiting list to do it. They have no record. They've been paying their taxes. They've been doing things the right way. And you have people that are, coming across the border, and look, I think it's illegal. I don't think they should be doing that.
Right.
If the first action that you take in the United States, in a country that you want that opportunity, is to break the law coming across, then that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Now, is the problem, what's the root of the problem? And I think big part of the root of that problem is just the process is so daunting, is so expensive, that people are desperate for a better life. And they're willing to take that risk to come over here. And God bless them for wanting something better for themselves. Mm-hmm. But we as a country need to do a better job and give them that opportunity to do it in a way that is actually plausible.
I remember those days now. I think there was a police chief maybe at the time who was openly admitting some of the people he had interaction with, he knew had two IDs.
Yeah.
The work ID
Mm-hmm.
and the other ID. So he was fully aware of something
Yeah.
illegal going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And I think people were frustrated at the time.
But see, and those were during a previous presidential administration where,
Right.
And that administration did a lot of crackdowns on immigration. There was nothing from the other side. Mm-hmm. No squawking from the other side about that. Now there's a lot of pushback and a lot of hand-wringing about, the individuals being deported and individuals, being taken. And I think one of the things I really don't like about politics is the speaking out of both sides of your mouth, depending on who's making the decision.
Right.
And we're seeing that a lot right now, and we're seeing it locally with what's happening on the immigration side. Before, the majority really wasn't saying anything about it. Now they're saying, they're screaming and having protests about it.
Oh, because it's Donald Trump
Because
and
it's
not
Donald-
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Or Bill Clinton.
Right. Yeah.
Right. To your
So-
point, it's so
The
tribal.
tribal.
It's
Yeah,
tribalism.
it's the
It's
tribalism.
tribalism. So, I remember that first interview, and then I remember the interview after Chad was killed. But, one of the things that I always appreciated about you, and one of the reasons why we had to have you on here, you were just a straight shooter. Mm-hmm. You didn't throw softballs. First time, even though we're on the same side of an issue, you don't throw those softballs. Mm-hmm. And you really listen to your callers, listen to your audience, and then, ask those tough questions of whether it's myself or, the mayor of Georgetown now or, Senator Hocker, whoever's on your program. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I was trying to be honest,
Yeah.
and try to be an advocate for that listener that I have in my mind that's listening.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
they'd like, somebody out there would like me to ask this, so I'm going to ask it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now, do you think the people that call in and your listeners, do you think that they truly want, and I ask this for a reason, but do you think that they truly want politicians to work together more, or do you think that they enjoy the tribalism of it all? Do you think it's a kind of a sport to them?
Well, people feel they're right, and so they want to win.
Right.
So I think.
Or do you think they want to work?
I'm
going to see
use
us work together to get what they want done.
I'm going to use an example that's controversial, but you'll understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you feel that abortion is killing a baby,
Right.
you cannot compromise with that person.
Right.
For example,
I get it. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
That's
saying?
fair,
So
yes.
so a lot of people feel like I cannot compromise with an ideology that believes X, Y, Z.
Right.
Yes.
So that's where we are. I guess that's the tribalism.
So,
But
yeah.
Sometimes maybe tribalism is not a bad thing. We were saying it like it was a bad thing, but
Right. There's some things you
people
can't
think they're
compromise.
right, and they want an advocate, and they want to win.
Right.
They want to win that. They want to win the argument.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing when he was talking about you doing interviews that I appreciate is that you do ask the tough questions. And one of the questions you always ask, especially Republican candidates that I appreciate, is that you do ask where they stand on the abortion issue. And as a vote, I'm talking as a voter now, but as a voter, I do not like when people don't answer that question and they try to talk around it. Just say what you believe. If you're pro-life, say you're pro-life. And I think,
Right.
and I think too, what a lot of people want with their politicians is they want their politicians to be so transparent that when they make a vote in the General Assembly, they are never surprised by that vote. That's how well they know them and they know their values. And I
Yeah.
think people are craving that.
Yes, they want authenticity, even if they don't agree.
Yes, agreed.
I think they want authenticity. And that's a question that I think does smoke out how firm someone can be in their convictions on your behalf.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
When they do kind of waffle around it or don't want to answer, I think it's an indication of how they might govern.
Right. Because that's one thing that, as much as I don't agree with certain far left politicians, I do appreciate when someone tells me exactly what they believe and where
me
they
too.
stand. Be straight with me.
If someone really believes that birthing person is a thing, or that trans is a thing, and that males can enter a women's bath, tell me straight up. I don't want you to beat around the bush. So I'm with you on that. I just want them to want to know exactly where you stand.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
there you go.
All right. You have any other questions? I don't want to stop the conversation. I could go on and on. Maybe we can just do a special spot, like during session on your show, where I come in and talk about local politics.
You can. I think your perspective would be great. You're really good at it. I think you serve the senators well.
Oh, thank you. I have a great group.
What do you
of
think, Brian?
One of the core functions of a chief of staff. Everybody thinks chief of staff. They're supposed to manage the people that work. I think one of the core functions of a chief of staff, and what Deanna is really good at, is watching our blind spot. Because there's times that we're inundated with lobbyists and groups that are telling us stuff, and she'll come and say, I know this group is saying this, but I also want you to think about this as well. And sometimes it kind of snaps us back and goes, wow, you're right. I've just been so focused on what's coming at me that I'm not seeing the other side as clearly as I should. And a good chief of staff will always tell you what you don't want to hear.
Yes, I'm very good at telling them no and telling them the truth.
Wow, that's rare. I mean, that's good.
It is, and I appreciate and I want that. I want to make sure that we have a full field of vision on these decisions that we're going to make. And sometimes she'll come to us with something that's really out of left field, and it makes us really think, wow, we didn't factor that point into there, and it changes our decision, or it at least gives us some pause. Sometimes we'll say, yeah, Deanna, you're right. Sometimes we won't. Sometimes we'll say, okay, let's take a step back and pull some more of that side of the audience into the issue and listen to what they have to say. But she does a fantastic job at making sure that when we're out there, when we're on the floor, when we're taking votes, that we know all sides of the issue. And it's just, has done a phenomenal job with helping us with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's enough about me. All right.
When are you going to run for office?
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, never.
Oh, but believe me, we've tried.
Okay, no, I've said this, that
Where do you live? What district?
he's my senator.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If I were
What
to-
rep district are you?
Jesse Vanderwen. I think for me, I would never run for office because I want to, and I've often said this to people in the party who have asked me to run, is I would only run if I felt like it was absolutely necessary. If I felt like we were in a position to where, are we there? I don't know. But, it's something, and I would never say never, but it's not something I desire to do. I like my role here.
So there is a possibility.
If I did, it probably wouldn't be at the probably wouldn't be at the Senate House level. It would probably be more of a congressional or national Senate seat if I were to ever run.
Yeah. In
Second Congressional District.
middle school, I ran for class president
Okay.
of our small class.
Right.
And
In Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a girl named Bonnie was running as well. And the class voted, and it was a tie.
Oh.
Whatever 20 to 20 or 10 to 10, whatever it was. So we had to have a re-vote, and it was a tie again. So we each gave a little talk or whatever, and we voted again, and this time I voted for Bonnie. And she won by one, she
But
won
your vote,
the election.
yeah.
So that's my political experience.
That's funny.
I voted myself out of the position. It was
yeah.
too much pressure.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I just, I really appreciate your show.
I do too.
You know, I listen to it as much as I can, and you know, I enjoy the callers and the perspectives that they have. And
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. People, more people should get involved.
Yeah.
I agree.
Whether it's contacting us or calling into your show.
But like I said, if next time people call in and say, we don't know what, you know, the Republicans are doing, you know, we're out here, short of coming to your door and knocking on it and telling you what we're doing. We are out here on social media. We have this podcast now going, and every week at the end of our legislative week, we sit down, we go over the bills for that week, the status of them, and kind of give our viewpoints. So we encourage people to listen and be informed. And
Nice.
You know, and before we close out, I wanted to give Blake an opportunity. Blake is a huge fan of yours as well.
Oh, hey, Blake.
And he wanted to be here today for this podcast. And he also helps us with research when we're doing our podcast. So I didn't know if you had any questions for Dan before we close out.
Not really.
Put you on the spot.
I just enjoyed the conversation. I love to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
thanks,
so good.
Blake.
Like, we love having young conservatives come in and be a part of this. You know, this is the next generation. And so we're thrilled to have a lot of good young Republicans.
Are you actually? Can I talk to Blake?
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
He's mic'd, so go ahead.
Oh, you're mic'd?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are you? Do you work here?
I do. I intern here.
Okay, you intern. Are you a student?
Wilmington University.
Okay, fantastic. How long you been at Wilmington University?
I'm a senior this year.
Okay, cool. And then what do you want to do? Or do you?
It's still up in the air. I think it's one of those things where I kind of see where life takes me and what kind of doors are opened.
Interesting.
This is the most interesting thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Being in these rooms and listening to these opinions and perspectives and really try to get a good understanding of what's happening and why it's happening. Because I have a lot of opinions and ideas and, you know, I think it's like a line from the musical Hamilton. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm ready to just kind of get in there and.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And
That's fantastic.
And
Thanks,
he will be getting married soon.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Yep.
All right.
Married, plans to start a family?
Yeah.
Big family?
Love it.
As much as I can afford. We'll see
Okay.
Kids,
how we can do that.
you know what? Don't
worry about
buy
the
into
afford.
that. Yes, don't buy into that narrative.
That's
Have
what
as
I would
many
say.
babies as you want. Yep.
Have them, and then you'll suddenly find that you can afford
Exactly.
them.
You
Right.
will, you
You'll
will
find
always
a way.
make it work.
You'll
Yes.
find a way.
Yes, and
That's
is
for me. I have 8 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody said at the beginning, hey, you need to afford to have 8 kids before you have 8 kids, I'd never have 8 kids.
Exactly.
And so you have them, and then God will find a way.
And they're such a blessing. And then you have grandkids, and they're an even bigger blessing. Sorry, my kids, for saying that, but it's
Big
true.
family advocates here.
Yes,
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it, love it.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's great.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have more of these conversations.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
after
fun.
session we can do this again and get some more input from callers.
Thank you.
For the Record is recorded and produced by the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus. You can find us with the DE Senate GOP handle on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Threads. Discover more about our caucus on our website, senategop.delaware.gov.